I am Mocha Latte.
And I am Hot Cakes in the Morning.
And we're just going to free flow it. We're going to talk about the gay culture. We're going to talk about the black culture. We're just going to mix it up.
I would really like to hear more about the black community and what's going on with that.
Well, as far as dating, the newest thing seems to be there's a lot of disdain from black men towards black women. So that's something that it's becoming a major, major problem. And you have a lot of platforms on YouTube with people, basically black men, setting up these YouTube accounts. And their whole objective is to demean and degrade black women. And it seems to be spilling over into the whole dating world. I've been very fortunate as far as the whole dating thing goes. It hasn't really affected me overall, but it is hurtful at the same time. So I don't know how we can rectify that. I don't know if we can get together and have some big powwow. I don't know the solution to that.
Well, your solution is our show, girl. That's why we're here tonight. These men need to hear it.
They do need to hear it, and they need to realize that we need love just like they do. I'm really interested in the gay community and the gay culture. We talked privately about the gay culture and how there's a lot of discrimination within the culture itself, which I didn't even realize. So can you please elaborate on that?
I mentioned that there is a lot of discrimination that goes on in the gay culture. You have different tribes. You have your masculine guys. You have your feminine guys. You have the butch of the butch. You have your leather guys. You have the guys that are gym rats and spend every waking hour watching what they eat and going to the gym, which there is some validity in that. You have a lot of different tribes in this community, and with that comes a lot of ankle biting, bashing, shaming.
What kind of shaming?
Body shaming. A lot of that comes from the masculine tribes and the gym rats. The shaming happens to the opposite, obviously. It's kind of within any other culture. If you're different than what the yuppie norm is, then you're shamed or you're kind of different or the outcast. And that's kind of what happens here in this community. I like to call it the black sheeps. If you're the black sheep, you're wearing jeans and a t-shirt, but everybody has to be dressed in the latest styles. Well, you're an outcast for that.
Wow, is that shallow?
If you have a little bit of extra weight on, you're an outcast. If you have acne on your face because you happen to have a breakout, you are an outcast. If you have hair on your body, you're an outcast. These guys are crazy. Grindr, Scruff, Craigslist, these apps, it is a self-esteem checker. And it really puts you into perspective as to where you're at in yourself. The shaming that happens on those sites is just crazy.
Now, is that overall across the world?
I can only really speak for Utah. I would say, from what I've heard from other people that aren't from here, that it may differ slightly depending on the culture. Are men different on a
geographical level?
Yeah.
Absolutely. The East Coast men are a little bit more real. You see a lot of black women on the East Coast wearing natural hair, and black men seem to be cool with that. When I was saying that there's a lot of disdain, it seems like it's more on the West Coast than the East Coast, and I probably should have specified that. Because on the East Coast, you see black men with black women with natural hair. They embrace the thickness. Actually, that seems to be kind of across the nation right now. Being thick is in. So if you have a little extra weight on you and you have big legs and a big ass and a small waist, men are feeling you.
See, now here in Utah, in the gay community, you're an outcast for that. Too much weight, you're not getting a date, you're sure as hell not getting laid, and I don't know what you are.
Well, see, back east, even if you're not voluptuous and have the hourglass figure, men will still try to talk to you. The biggest thing is you have to have confidence. And that's what it all comes down to. You have to have confidence because people can see if you have insecurities, as much as you try to hide them, they're going to come out. But I can only speak from a heterosexual standpoint. Maybe all the confidence in the world doesn't matter in your community and in your culture if you're overweight. Maybe that doesn't matter.
I would say you're on a good note with that. Confidence is key. I do know a lot of people in the community, even in the clubs, and we have our share of heavier set people, and there's ranges. There's voluptuous, and there's a range from voluptuous to a toothpick, in our community. Another spectrum of being fit to being Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think confidence is key. I see a lot of people that are heavy set that have tons of confidence. And if I could just have a speck of that confidence, it would be amazing.
But would that make a difference, though, in your culture? Basically, what you've implied is that it's a very vain-driven culture. So let's say someone's 300 pounds but has all the confidence in the world. Are they going to be able to find somebody in your culture that's going to get down with them?
I think that they will find somebody. For me, quality is key, and I don't know what quality they may find, nor if they care about quality. This is not even specific to the gay community, because I feel like everybody has a type, and there's tribes within any community: gay, straight, bisexual, black, Native American, Mexican, Indian, all your races. It's not even specific to that. It's everybody has a type. So that being said, it doesn't mean that in the gay community, because that is what we're discussing here, that a heavy-set person can't get down, because they probably do just fine doing a throwdown. You watch RuPaul's Drag Race, these men that are dressing like these crazy girls, I've seen some real blogs on that show, and they throw down. Ginger Minge, she is crazy. She is heavy, and she's got red hair and blue eyes, and she is feisty as hell. She throws it down, and she does the splits on stage. She throws that down. I'm sure she doesn't have any testicles left, but she throws it down. So, if somebody like that can get laid.
So then it does boil down to confidence.
The confidence is a big part, but also the vanity in the community here seems to be very big. Even with just making something as simple as friends, not even getting laid or getting a date or finding a boyfriend. That vanity is still there. It's all about a photo. It's all about, are your abs good? Is your skin tan enough? Is your butt firm enough? Do you have wrinkles? Are your teeth okay? Does my body need to be shaved? Do I need to trim down there? There's a lot to it. Do I smell okay? Oh, I shouldn't eat that. Really, when you're looking at a box of cupcakes that's brought into the office, we all want to have one. Well, in my situation, I have to take a step back and say, well, should I really eat that? Which kind of boosts your confidence to some extent, because if your physical appearance is up, then you know you're going to get a date or get laid. In my community, it's so hard. But then you go online and you see so many people that have all those attributes that I just discussed and want to be perfect and strive for that perfection in the vain sense. But then at the end of the day, what do they really have?
So then if you're basing your relationship solely on the physical appearance of somebody, what happens if, God forbid, the person's in an accident and basically becomes disfigured or deformed in some way? What happens with the relationship then? Do they just drop that person?
They drop them like a hot cake on Christmas Eve, honey.
What?
It's awful. I know somebody that happened to, actually. An amputee.
What happened?
This friend of mine, the amputee, wasn't an amputee before. They were in a car accident, and they've been with this person 15 years, and the guy that was with my friend couldn't handle it. He left him. My friend found him cheating.
That is terrible. So I didn't know all that stuff went on in that community. I mean, I had heard about the vanity aspect of it, but I didn't know it was that vain, and I didn't know that there were different tribes, as you called them, in the community. I just thought, okay, you meet somebody. I didn't think it was that wildly different than dating in the heterosexual community.
See, in some heterosexual men that I've spoken to are like, oh, you're gay, so you should just be able to find anybody. It doesn't work that way. It's just like I tell the men, it's like, can you just go out with just any girl? I mean, it's the same. Everybody has a type. Everybody has a preference. There's validity in that, but the tribes themselves only stick with that same like. Right? So it's like versus like. There's no opposition in there. There's no difference. So somebody that's muscular is only going to go for somebody muscular. And if you try to talk to that person, they don't want anything to do with you. You get blocked. You get ignored. Somebody that's extremely overweight will hit on someone like Mocha. And I necessarily won't be interested in that. Now, I'm a little chubby right now. I'm not feeling so great with my confidence level lately. This is some of the things that brings me to that point in my life, is all of this stuff that goes on in the community puts you in this place, and the vanity that goes on. And there's people that talk about that it's not any different anywhere else, and I think there's some validity in that too, because I have lived in California, in Orange County, and that was a very vain place to be. LA, it was worse than here, frankly, but the guys here are a little nicer, and I feel like there's some there's age variations also, where the vanity is a little bit worse. I feel like a younger crowd could be a little worse, but then also met men in their 50s that are just as bad, so it may just be anything with the penis. You know how that is. Anytime you get testosterone involved, they've all got to show each other up, and it's no different in that regard.
You should try New York.
I know. I've been putting my fillers out on Match. Those men are fine down there.
No disrespect to Utah, because people are super nice here, but I feel when you look at the East Coast versus this side of the country, it seems like people have more going on that side of the world and are a little bit more down to earth and grounded.
I think so far from the guys I've been talking to, they seem really good, and they definitely seem different on the East Coast. Even if there is tribes, I mean, there's always going to be tribes in our community, but I feel like there should be a little more versatility. It shouldn't just be like versus like.
Well, how do you bring that versatility on? Like, how do you make a change when it's been this way? It seems like forever.
It has. I think, unfortunately, us in the community that are those misfits, those outcasts, there's something different that just use. Because, you know, I've had guys say, well, what tribe do you identify in? And my answer always is, I don't belong to one. I'm just me. I'm not overly masculine. I'm not overly feminine. I'll go jump on a four-wheeler. I'll go canoeing. I'll go kayaking. But yet on the weekend, I may enjoy shopping and gardening and home decorating and redoing my house. So I definitely go from one extreme to the other in that way. I don't fit into a mold. And I'm not overly fit, but I'm not voluptuous. I'm just me. So those misfits in the world right now that are in that category and do know how I feel and others feel in our community, what do you do to change it? I think we just adapt. And that's kind of what I've done, is I just am a chameleon, and it's very hard at times, and that's kind of what you do.
Well, thanks for all that insight. Like I said, I wasn't really aware of all that goes on in the gay culture and community, so that was very insightful.
Anytime. I'm always happy to help.
That's going to wrap up Mocha Latte After Dark and
Hot cakes in the morning.
Stay tuned for our next podcast. Thanks for listening.